Hello everyone! It's been a while since I've made a video like this. This video is going to show you how to make an interactive PowerPoint activity for your students where they can actually click on the PowerPoint to do the activity. If you ever used WordWall, it's very similar to the unjumble game in WordWall where you have a sentence and each box has a word in the sentence and the student has to drag the word to the correct spot to make a complete sentence. This is great for our ESL students because it really helps them practice that sentence structure that a lot of them have a difficult time with. So the reason I made it into a PowerPoint is because a lot of us either A, use a platform where the student is not able to drag. So if you have WordWall, you have to do all the dragging for them. This allows your student to click on it because most platforms have at least the ability for the student to click. Like ClassIn, if you use PowerPoint, the student can click on the PowerPoint, but they can't drag on websites. If you use Zoom, I believe you can give them mouse control where they can click, but I believe they're not able to drag. Correct me if I'm wrong because I don't use Zoom. Or if you use a platform that does allow interaction like Koala Go, you just might not want to spend the money on WordWall. So this is an alternative that you can do by yourself, you can make it yourself, and you can use in your classroom. So I'm going to show you how to make the activity. It's actually very simple. And then at the end, I'm going to show how it works in ClassIn. So if you don't use ClassIn, then you can just stop the video when I get to that part. So first, I'm going to just open up a new slide on PowerPoint. And the first thing I'm going to do is create the boxes that my words are going to go in. So for that, I go to Insert, and I just like to use the rounded box shape, but you can use whichever shape you want. And then really, you can make just one and then duplicate that one. So keep in mind how many words are going to be in your sentence. The longer your sentence, then you're gonna have to make the boxes a little smaller. You can always change the size later. Shorter sentences, you can make the boxes pretty large if you need to. So I'm going to make a box, and you can change the color of the box, customize it any way you want. And then I'm just going to duplicate that box and put it right underneath it. And then I'm going to add, and you might think that's not a sentence, it's only one word, but I'll show you how you can make this so much easier than having to create multiple boxes and multiple animations. So I'm going to add the animation to this box. So the first box I'm going to click on, the top one, and I'm going to go to Animations. And this one I want to fade out. So I'm going to go to Exit, Fade Out. You can do any type of exit. You can do disappear, fly out, doesn't really matter. I like fade, so I do fade out. And then you're going to go to trigger. If you watched my other PowerPoint video about making things clickable, it's very similar to that. You go to trigger, and then you go to click of, and then this is the rectangle corners 3. It's just the first one that I made, so I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to the second box, and I'm going to go to add animation. This one I want to fade in. So I'm going to click fade in, or again, you can use any other. You can do appear, fly in, float in, whatever you want to do. I'm just using fade in. And then I still want to use the trigger again. Make sure that box is still selected. On click of, and I want it the first rectangle, not the click on the number 4, the one I just clicked on. I want it to be the trigger of the first box. Okay, so now if I go to animation pane right here at the top, I will see both of those together. The reason they're together is because the animation is happening together on the same box. This one box is causing both of these animations to happen. But there's one more step you need to do. And this one actually took me a while to figure out. I thought, why isn't it working? So for this second box, click on the second one again. So you can click on them here, or I can click on them here. It highlights the one I'm clicking on. So I want the second box, and I'm going to click on the drop down, and I want it to start with previous. That is very important. Okay. So now if I do a test by clicking on this. I don't see that second box because that was the fade in box. So as soon as I click on this, it's going to fade out and the second box will fade in. Let's hope it works. Perfect. Done. Now you're basically done. That's the best part. Once you do the first one, all you have to do is duplicate it. But you have to duplicate the boxes together. If I duplicate the first box and then the second box separately, the animation will not work correctly. I found that out the hard way. So to do that, I'm going to highlight the boxes together. So I'm going to click on the first box. I can see it's highlighted. Then I hold Shift and then click on the second box, and I can see, even over here, I see them highlighted together. And then I'm just going to use Control D to duplicate. And I could see over on my animation pane over here that I made a second set of boxes. And then now just duplicate for as many words you need in your sentence. I'm going to make, let's do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And once you hit duplicate, it continues in the same pattern. So now I have 4 boxes, or 4 sets of boxes, and the animation is still the same for all of them. So now to test it out, I'm going to click on this. But the important thing here is that it shouldn't matter which one you click on. It should work. Whichever one you click on should be the one that fades, not in order 1, 2, 3, 4. It should happen whichever box I click on. So if I click on box number 3, box number 3 disappears and appears under. If I click box number 1, 4, 2, I should be able to click on any box and it should disappear and then reappear underneath. So my animations are working correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of my animation pane. I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to make my game. I'm going to put the sentence in. So I'm going to put the sentence, one word in each box. But I'm going to write the second row exactly the same. Okay, now from here, and keep in mind, just like the boxes, you can change the color, size, shape, whatever you want. You can edit the text in here any way you want as well. It won't affect anything with the animation because the animation is tied to the entire box. So change the color, size, whatever. I'm just going to keep it like this for now. Next step is to mix up the top row. The bottom row will always stay the same. And the top row is the one that you jumble or mix up. There we go. So you today are how. So now, again, if I do the test, all the student's going to see is that top row that is jumbled up. So then from there, their job for the activity is to click on the correct word to put the sentence in order. So if they click how, it goes to the first word in the sentence. And it's okay if they click on the wrong word. It will still do the animation, but of course it's going to go to the correct place in the sentence. So if I click today, it's going to go to the end, and which is a great way for you to talk to the student about why that word doesn't go next. Because, well, I see it has a question mark, so I know it's the end of the sentence. And then they can continue, are, you, and the end of the slide. So the activity is complete. But there's one more thing I highly encourage you to do. Let me make another slide after it. I highly encourage you to change the transition setting here. If you go all the way to the right under transitions where it says advanced slide, the default is on mouse click. That just means if I have this here, if I click anywhere on the slide, it goes to the next slide. That's a problem because if the student is accidentally clicking and they accidentally click outside that box, it's going to skip to the next slide, and we don't want that to happen. So if you go to, again, the transitions, advanced slide, just uncheck that box on mouse click and choose apply to all. So it does it for all of the slides, unless you don't want it on all the slides. Apply to all. Now, if I do the activity, how, and if I accidentally click on the white space around it, it's not going to skip to the next slide, which is excellent, especially for our younger students that sometimes get a little click happy. So that is it. Simple. If you want to make your own template, just make the boxes without mixing them up and without putting the words in, and then save that, and then you can just copy and paste that slide and make your new game each time you want to add it to your lesson. So great way for your students to practice sentence structure and gets them involved with the lesson. They're actually doing the clicking themselves and are a part of the lesson rather than you having to do all the clicking and moving for them. So now that I've finished that, so if you don't use ClassIn, you can stop the video here. Now I'm going to show you just how you use it in ClassIn, which is basically the same way you use it in PowerPoint. So from here, I'm going to open my ClassIn. I already have it loaded up. So since it's a PowerPoint, you would just upload it into your ClassIn drive. You don't want to screen share because then they won't be able to click on anything. But it's important that the student understands to use the cursor tool. So for most of us, our students are just using the drawing tool for most of our lesson. We don't really have them unless they're on doing an EDB or something on the blackboard where they need to drag. Most likely they're using the pen tool. But for these activities on PowerPoint, just like you would have to do this, you would have to change to that first tool, which is the cursor tool. So here you click on the cursor, and again, I have that setting to where it doesn't advance on the click, so I don't accidentally go to the next slide, and it works the same as in PowerPoint. So I click, how are you today? And then you can advance the slide this way if you have another one right after it, or you can just change your tool to continue the rest of your lesson. So hopefully this is something that you could use in your class with your students to make classes just a little bit more fun and more engaging. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye, everyone.